What happens when a seasoned hunter faces down a charging puma and she doesn't come to fight? The moment she dropped it in front of him, every rule he trusted shattered. What happened next made even wildlife officials freeze in their tracks. It started with a goat. Not mine, not anyone's I knew, but one unlucky goat that ended up scattered across a pasture like a jigsaw puzzle nobody wanted to finish. You see, when you're the only guy in town who knows how to handle a rifle without checking the barrel like it's a coffee mug, people start knocking. Or in this case, pounding. Real hard. Like justice had a deadline. "Ray!" Carter yelled through the screen door, holding up a photo of what used to be a goat and now looked like modern art. "You're the only one left who knows what the hell to do out there." Well, ain't that a flattering obituary? I hadn't hunted in 2 years. My shoulder still clicked when I rolled it, and my patience for small-town drama had dried up faster than my ex-wife's affection. But this was different. It wasn't just a missing dog or coyotes in the trash. They said Puma, a real one. Not a house cat on a sugar rush. A big, fast, cold-eyed machine built to vanish before you even heard the grass move. So, like an old fool looking for closure, I pulled my gear from the shed, the one the HOA hated, and dusted off the rifle I hadn't named, but probably should have. Sling over my shoulder, flask in my pocket, boots tight. And no, I wasn't going in guns blazing. Contrary to local legend, I didn't get a thrill from pulling a trigger. I just hated surprises that involved teeth. The woods were soaked. Everything smelled like wet moss and mistakes. I waited. Day after day. Mud up to my ankles, mosquitoes throwing parties on my neck, and nothing but silence for company. Then came the night that changed everything. No flashlight, no sound. Just a shadow at the edge of the clearing, like the forest exhaled and formed something alive. There she was, the Puma. Not running, not hiding, just standing, watching. Eyes locked with mine like she knew exactly where I was, and more disturbingly, why I was there. I didn't lift the rifle. Something about her froze me. And I'm not one for mystic talk, but this wasn't normal. She wasn't hunting. She was thinking. Then she turned and walked off into the dark like she had somewhere more important to be. I didn't sleep that night, didn't even pretend. The next morning, Carter showed up with a look that meant he was about to say something real inconvenient. "Ray, listen," he said, waving around a crumpled magazine like it was a court order. "Cover story, the last mother, scientists warn not to interfere." Yep, my Puma. Apparently tagged, observed, monitored, possibly with cubs. Of course no one told me. Why would they? I'm just the guy they call when something needs solving the old-fashioned way. "You shoot her," Carter warned, "and you're not just some hunter anymore. You're the villain in a documentary." Great. Now I wasn't just chasing a predator, I was tiptoeing around a moral landmine. No pressure. But I still went out that night. Maybe out of duty. Maybe out of habit. Or maybe because I needed to know. Was she just another animal doing what animals do, or was something else going on? I found her again. She wasn't hiding. This time she ran, directly at me. I raised my rifle. My finger was ready. 5 seconds, 4, 3, and then I saw it. Not in her eyes, not in her body, in her mouth. And that's when the rifle dropped. Not because she scared me, but because she brought something I never expected. That was just the beginning. What happened next changed everything. You don't want to miss how this unfolds. I dropped the rifle. Yeah, me, Ray Morris, third-generation hunter with more wildlife trophies than neck mobility. The same guy who once held off a bear with a shovel and a bad attitude. I dropped my rifle like it burned my hand, because that Puma, the same one who stared through me 2 nights ago, was now standing 10 feet away, and in her mouth wasn't what I feared. It was what I didn't want to believe. A cub. Small. Weak. Limp as a sock in rainwater. She set it down so gently you'd think it was glass. Then she looked up at me, eyes drilling straight through the armor I'd been wearing since high school. That stare? It wasn't wild. It wasn't vicious. It was deliberate. Like she knew I'd be there. Like she needed me. And I swear, for a second, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Shame. Now here's the thing they don't tell you when you buy a license and a scope. Nothing prepares you for that kind of moment. Not boot camp. Not 20 years in the woods. Not even marriage. You can aim at a threat. You can't aim at mercy. I knelt beside the cub. It was breathing, barely. One leg twisted, blood drying around the paw like a bad bandage. I could feel her eyes burning into my skull as I tried to steady my shaking hands. Easy now, I muttered, more to myself than to her. And that's when I realized. She wasn't protecting it. She was offering it. Like she'd run out of options, like I was the last one left, and maybe I was. Carrying a bleeding puma cub through the woods at midnight? That's the kind of thing that makes your obituary spicy. But I did it, because the look in that mother's eyes said everything words never could. Back at the cabin, I wrapped the cub in my only clean towel, which, if I'm honest, hadn't been clean in months. Heat on low, whiskey bottle nearby, not for me this time. I needed both hands steady. Called Carter, of course I did. You did what? He half screamed. I said, I repeated, there's a cub on my counter, a mother in my yard, and if you've got anything helpful to say, now would be the time. Silence. Then, I'll call the reserve. You don't move. Didn't plan on it. But trouble? Trouble always moves. And by sunrise, it was pounding on my front door, wearing shiny boots and official patches. 3 men, 1 clipboard, 0 charm. Wildlife enforcement. Mr. Morris, the lead one barked, we have reports of an unregistered wildlife contact. Step outside. They weren't here to help. They were here to make sure I wasn't screwing up their numbers. This animal is part of an active study, clipboard man explained like I was in preschool. Any civilian interference must be reported and... Interference? I cut in. She brought the cub to me. That's not how these situations are handled, sir. Well, maybe the damn situation didn't read your manual. That didn't go over well. They tried to take the cub, roughly, no gloves, no sense. But then, she appeared. The mother, on the porch. Not growling, not leaping, just standing there. Muscles tensed, tail twitching, eyes like coals straight out of the fire. And suddenly, nobody wanted to be the guy reaching for that cub. What followed was 15 minutes of polite threats, veiled warnings, and the kind of paper shuffling that makes your blood boil. I stood my ground. The puma didn't move. Eventually, they left. But I knew this wasn't over, because sometimes the real predators don't wear fur. Sometimes they wear badges. This is the turning point. What happens next flips everything on its head. Don't even think about missing the moment where justice finally gets its claws out. Let me tell you something, no wildlife guide or government pamphlet ever will. When a mother puma trusts you more than she trusts the system, you don't brush that off. You respect it. You earn it. But the system? Oh, it doesn't like being outplayed by instinct. By the next morning, my front yard looked like a nature-themed episode of courtroom drama. Camera crews, news vans, biologists, a local council member who had probably never seen a real animal outside of a zoo fundraiser. And right there, like she owned the place, stood the puma. Still. Silent. Watching from the tree line. Her cub safe inside, tucked into a heated blanket I bought from a hardware store clearance rack. You'd think someone would say, "Thank you." But instead, they brought a contract. "Mr. Morris," one of the city officials said, puffed up like a turkey at a parade, "we need you to sign this release. It ensures proper transfer of the animal to a certified rehab facility. For protocol. That word again. I looked at the paper, looked at the cameras, then looked at her, the puma, eyes locked with mine. That's when I knew. She didn't want to be part of their files. She wanted her cub back, and I was standing between her and the one thing she had left. So I did the only thing that felt right. I walked outside, cub in my arms, and I knelt. Yeah. Ray Morris. Mr. Tough as Ironwood, down on both knees in the mud like I was giving the forest back its own heartbeat. I didn't speak, didn't need to. She came forward. Slow, careful. The cameras kept clicking. The officials started panicking. But I stayed still. She reached the cub, sniffed it once, and, with a gentleness that shut up every doubter within a mile, lifted it into her jaws like a velvet hook. Then she turned and walked back into the trees. No drama, no chase. Just a mother doing what every mother would, given the chance. But the real fire started after she left. Do you realize what you've done? Interfering with wildlife re-entry protocol? Do you know how much data we just lost? Data, protocol, procedure. Not a single word about compassion, or instinct, or the fact that maybe, just maybe, nature knew better than their forms and clipboards ever would. So I stepped up to the news mic. Didn't plan a speech, didn't need one. I just said this. She didn't ask for our help. She asked for respect. And if you need a signed form to give her that, then maybe you're not the ones who should be in charge of protecting anything. The video hit 2 million views in 3 days. I became the hunter who knelt. People sent letters, some angry, most grateful. A retired biology professor mailed me a drawing of the moment, me, the cub, the Puma, like some backwoods painting of a forgotten truth. They say one man can't fix a system. Maybe not. But one man can remind the system that not everything wild needs to be caged to be understood. Justice didn't come from the courts that day. It came from the woods. And I'll be damned, it came on 4 paws.